It's Michelle from Cozyegg, and today is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021, and this is episode 108. So thanks so much for coming back if you're a returning viewer, and if this is your first time here, thanks for joining me. This is primarily a video about cross stitch and books, and occasionally some other stuff thrown in. So anyway, let's get started. So it has been over a month since the last time I recorded. I think the last time I recorded was the beginning of August, so it's almost been a month and a half. And you know how it is when you need to do something and you've put it off and you've put it off and you've put it off and you just can't seem to make yourself do it. And so then you find yourself procrastinating, doing random, strange things rather than just doing the thing that you need to do. Yeah, so I was going to record last week. Didn't happen. I was going to record Monday. Didn't feel like it. So tonight I'm like, all right, I'm going to record. And then I went upstairs and I was, kind of putting on my makeup and, whatever. And I'm like, this looks like the perfect time to floss my teeth. So I stood up there and flossed my teeth. Whatever. Anyway, we're here now. So, yeah. So what's happened in the last month and a half? We celebrated the last Friday 13th, or possibly the only Friday the 13th of the year, back in August, and it is, one of those special Dark 13 stitching events that I absolutely love because, Dark 13 stitching is special in and of itself, but when it falls on Friday the 13th, it seems a little more special. When it falls on a full moon, it's a little more special. So anyway, so Friday the 13th, and like I said, it's the last Friday the 13th for the year. There won't be another one until May, I think. So hopefully all of you that wanted to participate got out your dark, spooky stitching and indulged yourself on the 13th of the month. I attempted to. I had the best intentions. But we'll talk more about that later. So, and of course we just had a Dark 13 stitching on Monday. So I will talk about what I worked on for that as well momentarily. So Dark 13 stitching, obviously we have Dark October stitching that is coming up for the whole month of October. And just a side note, it is Dark October stitching. It is not Darktober stitching. So now that that's out of the way, so anyone is welcome to join. Emily Eclectic Possessions and I host both Dark 13 stitching and Dark October stitching, and the September 13th Dark 13 stitching was the 5th anniversary of us doing dark 13 stitching. So yeah, we've been doing this every month on the 13th of the month for 5 years, which seems impossible. But yeah, so there you go. And October will mark, of course, the 5th anniversary of Dark October stitching as well. So I hope you all join us. And I will talk a little bit more about Dark October plans in a bit. High level. I'm not going to go into tons of detail because, frankly, if I had to pull any more stuff out to do this video, it just wasn't going to happen. So, and here comes Ted. So, yeah, so Emily did post on Instagram that there is a chart from Twin Peaks Primitives that we're going to start on the 13th in October. So you have plenty of time to get your digital download from Twin Peaks Primitives on Etsy, as well as to gather your supplies. Please excuse me. Come on, over there. Thank you. And let me just pull up a quick photo of that chart so that you can see it. So I love the house. The house is fantastic, and it's you know, I think just a handful of colors, so should be relatively an easy thing to kit up. And the hashtag, if I'm not mistaken, is Haunted House Sal, but double check Emily's post on that to make sure. So, and that's going to start on October 13th. So, dark 13 stitching, dark October stitching, Haunted House Sal. All right. So, the other thing that happened in the past month and a half is that I had a birthday, and as part of my birthday celebrations, such as they were, I took a week off of work, which was much needed. So I didn't have really any big plans other than I wanted to spend some time, some focused time, doing some charting of a reproduction that I'm doing, and so I worked on that. I would get up in the mornings, you know, do my journaling like I normally do a little bit of reading, and then I would basically spend the rest of the morning charting. And then I would have lunch, and then after lunch I worked on stitching on Sarah Ann Banton, and tried to catch up on some of my shows that I had recorded that I was quite behind on. So I watched the Oscars, things like that. So yeah. Anyway, but it was a lovely week. I fully enjoyed myself, and I got to do things that I wanted to do, that I enjoyed doing, but I also, you know, felt productive while I was doing it. So it was a good week, much needed time away from work, and I really love being able to set my own schedule and spend time, you know, working on stitching my model, or working on charting, or, you know, reading, whatever. I really love being able to set my own schedule. So, goals. So, as part of my birthday, I purchased a couple of things. Not much, but I purchased a couple of things. And so one of those things is this necklace that I'm wearing. This is by Blood Milk Jewels. I talked about them last time. And this is, there's a really great picture of it on my Instagram. But this is it's basically a reproduction of an antique Art Nouveau piece. So it's a bat, and it has onyx little jewels in there, onyx stones in there. So I absolutely love it. It was something that I chose for myself that was meaningful, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have it. So yeah, I can't wait. It's my first blood milk piece, and it is not my last. I actually have another piece that's on its way, but it's not here yet. So and I realize I'm saying a lot, and yeah, trying to get my brain to kick in. It's not happening. So anyway, this was my birthday gift to myself. Much love. The other thing that I purchased that I wanted to share with you is an artist under the name Forest Noir. She is on Instagram, as well as she has a website, and she is a still life photographer. She does some absolutely amazing work. It's very moody and lush, and some of it is dark, but it's very beautiful. Some of it is very haunting, and one of the things that I love about blood milk pieces is they are beautiful pieces in and of themselves, but the symbolism and the meaning behind the pieces gives it a whole new layer that I really appreciate, because I really like those, you know, to know the origin of the piece and the symbolism in it, and, you know, just all of those different layers of meaning, because I think it gives so much more depth to a piece, right? And so Forest Noir does the same thing with her pieces, which I absolutely love. And I actually stumbled across her on Instagram a while back when I was reading, I guess it was earlier this year, when I was reading The Haunting of Hill House. And I was actually looking at the hashtag. Why, I don't know, but anyway, I was looking for the hashtag and stumbled across some photographs that she did that were inspired by Shirley Jackson. She has several that she did, and once I started looking at her work, I was just totally entranced. And so there is a piece of hers called Poison Study that I fell in love with immediately when I saw it. And she offers prints of her pieces. She also offers other things like bookmarks and scarves and what have you. And one of the things that she offers are these little mini masterpiece magnets. And so it's one of her pieces printed, and then it has a frame around it, and it's a magnet on the back. And as soon as I saw that she offered these, I was like, what would be more perfect than to put that Poison Study piece in the haunted dollhouse. So of course I had to order one. So I also posted photos of this on my Instagram, so you can see it there as well. But, you know, it's a couple inches tall and it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I love the greens in it. I love all of the depth to it. Her still lives are just amazing. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about putting it in the haunted dollhouse. And I'm so glad I ordered it because it's just fantastic. I can't wait. So I had to share that with you. Do go and look at her work, give her a follow. She did also send along this fantastic bookmark that is of one of her pieces as well. And I can't wait to use this. And here is Forest Noir photography. So this is going to be the perfect bookmark to use for reading, which I will talk about my October reading in a little bit. So, I did receive a couple of gifts for my birthday that I wanted to share with you. And I just posted these on Instagram as well, but I wanted to show them here. So, two of my very dear friends teamed up together and made gifts for me, that match. And so here is the scissor fob, and you can see that that raven is iridescent, which I just love. Just love. And these stones down here are Dalmatian jasper, which are really cool. It's just a beautiful piece, and it is double-sided. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And now that I have shown it to you, I can put it on my scissors. So this is the other piece. And that one was made by my friend Karen. This one was made by my friend Mary. And the raven here, you can see, is not completely black. So it's got that, you know, that kind of blue-black look to it, which is just fantastic. And I love that his little eye is a bead. So there he is sitting on a tombstone. And then on the back is this. And I love the beads on the top and the bottom. And this tiny little twisted cording. And then on the inside, there's a little pair of scissors, there's a little spider, and then this little needle book with the little bead there. So sweet. And I love the fabric on the inside too. And when you open that up, of course, there's a little piece where you can put your needles. So sweet. And here's the full back. I just love it. Love it, love it. So, I love that I have friends that get me. That actually means the world to me. So yeah, so I had to share those, which I'm very excited about. And like I said, now that I have shared them, I can put them to use. So let's talk about what I've been working on. So let's talk first about dark 13 stitching last month. That went horribly, horribly awry. So I hemmed and hawed and went back and forth about whether or not I wanted to start something, whether or not I wanted to work on something that I already had going, etc. And in the end, I decided that I wanted to start this piece, which is by Whistle Stop Stitcher, and this is a Cecropia moth. So I had some anthracite, Zweigart anthracite 40 count linen. I had the DMC that I pulled for this, and so I sat down on the 13th and started stitching it, and I was not happy. And so part of the reason that I think I was not happy is that this anthracite is very blue leaning. It's a very blue leaning gray. All of the colors that are called for are very warm. And I just was not loving it on this fabric. And I was also feeling like I might be happier if I went with some overdyed potentially. So I did that much and said, nope. So that was really the end of that. And then I was sort of mad because I wasted my Friday the 13th. So, but what are you gonna do? I just don't think it was the right fabric for that piece. So we'll figure it out. So then on my birthday, I decided that I was not going to have a new start. I was really trying to focus on getting Sarah Ann Banton finished, which I had hoped to do by my birthday, which did not happen. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. But I had really hoped to have a new start. I had really hoped to have a new start of a piece that I designed. That didn't materialize either. So I was stitching with my group of friends on my birthday, where I typically stitch on my chatelaine. And so I got that out to stitch on, and the more that I worked on it in the afternoon, the more I decided that I really love this piece, and I really think that this may be my new comfort piece, because it just, I hadn't intended it to really be my birthday stitching, my quote-unquote momentous birthday stitching, but it worked out that way, and I'm really glad that it did. So this is where I'm at on that, and I'm trying to kind of get it so you can see the fabric. It is on a 32 count silk weaver called Days Gone By, and it's kind of a sand color, which I just love. And please forgive my weirdness, whatever is going on here with my stuff. Whatever. So I worked on this quadrant and got to put in some new colors, which I was really excited about. And I really love the way that it's looking. So I worked on it, you know, while I was stitching with friends, which was lovely. And then that evening, after we had dinner, I just decided to keep stitching on it because I was enjoying it so much. I love the colors of it. I love that it's Egyptian. I just love everything about it. So, yeah. And I started this for my birthday several years ago. I don't remember when exactly. And I just absolutely enjoyed it. And so I really think I want to start getting this out more and working on it more often, because I just love it. And it really, on that day, it really did feel like, you know, this is my new comfort piece. Like, I haven't, since I finished Blackened Sky, I haven't really had another comfort piece. But this one just really kind of called to me and said, yes, work on this. It will bring you happiness. And it did. So I am very, very happy that I worked on that, and I'm happy with the progress that I made. So I worked on that for one day, and then up until Monday night, this past Monday, I have been working solely on Sarah Ann Banton, trying to get her finished. So let's talk about Sarah. There is a lot to show you because I've made some pretty good progress since the last time you saw her. So let's see if I got a situation going on here. Okay, so here's Sarah, and so this is Sarah Ann Banton, and 1833. This is a sampler, an antique sampler that I reproduced for the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild as an exclusive for them last year, and that's my guild that I belong to. That was an exclusive for them for their 20th anniversary last year. So I am stitching the model for it, and I should be releasing this publicly in December. So I'm trying to get the model stitched so that I can be ready to release her in December. And it's just taking a lot longer than I expected, but that is user error and doing things like flossing my teeth instead of doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So here's what I've worked on. So I am stitching her with a Versoix Soie d'Alger on 40 count weeks putty. It does have a greenish cast to it because the antique had kind of a greenish cast to it as well. And so that's what I wanted to show in the model. So I specifically chose this fabric for that reason. So last time I had just started putting in the tree. So I finished the tree down to about here. And then on my vacation, I brought down this border. I worked over here and got the angel and the two birds and the top of this shrubbery done. And then I brought down this border, worked over here, and got, the two birds, the angel, this little motif done. And then I came down here and did the corner, this flower, and then I decided that I wanted to start putting in the grass. And so, as you can see, there are things that are going to be down into the grass. So, I stitched across, I brought down my shrubbery to come into here, stitched across, stitched the deer, stitched across, stitched Eve's legs, stitched across, and then I started stitching the tree trunk, but I decided to start from where I was up here and come down to the grass. And so I started doing that. And I got down to where it meets the grass, and I was off by one thread. Not one stitch, one thread. And so I totally, looked back over everything. I looked over the tree, I looked over the grass, I looked over my border to make sure that everything was, where it needed to be. And I determined that it appears when I started the bird that's up here on the top of the tree, I started him, I was off by a thread up here, and I think it's because I was coming off of this embroidery, so I wasn't exactly where I needed to be. So my tip for anyone that is stitching this is to do the embroidery after you get these other things in, and do not count off of your embroidery, because just the nature of embroidery, you could be off a little bit, right? So better to stitch all the things around it and then come in and do your embroidery, or just don't count off your embroidery, either way. So then, of course, I was like, well, crud, now I'm gonna have to rip this whole tree out and move it. And several people on Instagram said, can you not fudge it? And so, full disclosure, if I thought I could, I would, because it's one thread. However, it is a model, so I do want it to be as close to accurate as possible. And two, Adam is actually reaching up and touching one of the fruit that is on the tree. And so if I fudged the tree, then I would also have to fudge Adam. So, it becomes a little problematic, right? So if the tree stood alone and nothing touched it, and there wasn't anything that was, going to be impacted by it, I might be a little more lenient. That's just me. You do you. But I just decided, okay, the tree's gonna have to come out. That's all there is to it. So I decided that what I would do is I would rip out one length of thread, and then I would, stitch up so that I can rip out, stitch up, rip out, stitch up. It goes a little faster that way, I think. And it's not quite as soul-sucking as having to rip the whole thing out and then re-stitch the whole thing. So what I thought I would do is, I ripped out a length, and then I thought, well, I'm just going to come down to where the bottom of the tree, the base of that tree is. I'm going to stitch that, and I'm going to work my way up. And when I got up to, the width of the trunk, I realized that I was off from where the trunk is here. So I recounted across my grass. And I don't know where the issue is. So I had some suggestions that I should maybe work on bringing my border across all the way up so that I could use my border as a reference point. And that would maybe help me figure out where the problem is. Is the problem in the grass? Is the problem in the tree? You know, whatever. So this story just gets worse as we go. So I started bringing the gold of the border all the way across, and I came around the corner and I came up here to where, you know, this was, which is really where I had stopped stitching. And so I took the end of this thread and brought it down, and my border does not match. I am off by 1 stitch vertically and 1 stitch horizontally. So I'm 1 stitch off both horizontally and vertically, I guess is a better way to say that. Yeah. So, to show you, these should match up, and this should be 1 stitch over. So they should meet this way, and this should be 1 stitch over. Yeah. So I have looked at it. Eric has looked at it. I have taken it off the Q-snap and looked at it. And I don't know where the issue is. And, you know, I've stitched my border as I went, right? And the border is completely symmetrical. Every single one of these little undulations is exactly the same. The only place that there is any difference is in the corners. So every one of these flowers is the same. Every piece of the vine is the same, with the exception of the corners. So as I'm going, I always make sure that my flower is matching up with my border. And if it isn't, I know I have a problem. So this one petal, I always match up with the right spot here on the border. And if it doesn't match up, I know I've got a problem. And so I would rip it out immediately and fix it. And every one of these flowers matches up to the border. So I do not know where the problem is. And so I do not know what I need to do to fix it. Suffice it to say that late on Sunday night, when I discovered this border issue, I declared that Sarah and I are on a break. Because I'm at that point where the end is in sight, so I'm excited to have it finished. But also, the end is in sight, and it is taking me longer to finish it than I expected it to take me to finish it. And so I'm really like, I need this finished. I need to move on. And like I said, I had really hoped that I would have it finished by my birthday. I'd really hoped I would have it finished by the end of August so that I could do Sampler September and be, you know, kind of free to do whatever I felt like doing in September. At this point, if it's not done by the end of September, I'm just going to take October off and I'm going to do whatever I want in October because I'm ready to be done with this piece. I have enjoyed almost every bit of stitching her. I have not gotten burned out or tired of stitching her until right now. And I think it's just because I ran into one too many problems right on top of each other that I was just like, we need to see other people. So I've set Sarah aside, and so I decided that I would pick up something for dark 13 stitching on Monday, and so that's what I did. And so I will show you what I've been working on since Monday, but what's going to have to happen with Sarah, I think, is the first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to figure out my issue with my border, which means I'm going to have to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and determine, you know, where the problem is. My suspicion is that it is somewhere in one of those corners. I have counted and recounted the 2 bottom corners, thinking those were the likely suspects. They seem fine. So I'm going to have to go back through the whole border with a fine-tooth comb and figure out where my mistake is. Because until I figure out where that mistake is, I don't know how big the rest of my problems are and how to fix them. Because if my grass is off, I can fix that. If the tree is off, I can fix that. But I don't want to just randomly start ripping things out until I know where the problem is. So I'm a little bit disgusted. So, all right, let's talk about dark 13, shall we? All right, where did I put it? Oh, I had to move it because my cat got up here. Okay, so I decided to get out my piece that I had been focusing on since I finished Black and Sky. So I got out Moon Phases, and this is where I'm at. Let me just take part of this out. I'm not going to take the whole thing out, but I will take part of it out just so you can see where I'm at. Okay, this is not pretty, but all right. So here's where I'm at, and I know that kind of blows out the color there, but that's where I'm at. This is by the Little Stitcher. I am stitching it, it's called Moon Phases. I am stitching it on 32 count, I think it's 32 count, Midnight Tryst by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And I am stitching it with overdyes that I chose based on the DMC that she called for. So, what I have been working on since Monday, and I did my own hair and skin conversion for the 2 outer ladies, just to have a little diversity in here. So, I have been working on the words up here. So I think when I put it away, I maybe had the ASES. So I've worked on everything to this side. And then I've been working on bringing this top border across. There is another border that goes up here. And then I think there is another border that goes underneath the moon phases here at the bottom. There's 2 versions of this piece. There is a full moon version and a new moon version. And I am doing the new moon version. which means that this lady in the center is the new moon. The full moon version has this lady in white with, of course, a full moon here at the top. So I really love this piece. I started it actually the same month I started my Egypt garden piece, because I started this for the solar eclipse. So that's where I'm at. So in the grand scheme of things, I really don't have a ton more to do on this. So I'd really love to get this finished up in dark October. That would be fantastic. But we'll see what happens. But I've been enjoying working on it the past few nights. So I'm glad that I got it back out and worked on it. And you may notice that the ladies have these little spots on their heads, and those will have beads in them. There are beads that go here on her dress and here right at the base of her bodice. And there is also metallic, silver metallic, I think it called for Krynic, but I'm using Rainbow Gallery Petite Treasure braid, that will be, you know, kind of lacing on the two outer ladies' bodices, I think. So that'll make it sparkly, which is always a good thing. So I don't have my beads yet. I haven't decided on what color beads I want to put on there, but we will get to that when we get to it. So yeah, so that's what I have been working on since Monday. It has been nice to have a little break and to do something completely different. I know that it is Sampler September, but I needed a totally different something. So this was the perfect opportunity, since it was dark 13 stitching. And I have my Moon needle minder from Amy Baruch, which I just love. So that's what I've been working on. And I will probably work on that a couple more nights. Tonight maybe, and then maybe one more night. And then figure out Sarah this weekend. So, all right. I think that's it for the stitching. So let's talk a little bit about plans. So like I said, I'm probably going to work on that a few more nights, and then I've got to sort out Sarah. And my intention still is to try to have her finished by the end of this month, because I would really like to be able to enjoy completely dark October stitching. And I need some dark stitching in my life. I need something. So I'll have to sort out Sarah. I'm going to try to finish her. And that was the other thing, is that I had sort of held off on recording a video because I was like, well, I'll just wait until I finish her. I'll wait until I finish her. I'll wait until I finish her. And then that just kept dragging on ad nauseum. So here we are. I will try to do a video before October, because I'd like to put together kind of my dark October plans. I don't know what those are going to be yet. I have a couple things in mind I would like to work on, but we'll see how it goes. So, yeah. But speaking of dark October, and I'm going to segue into books now. So if you're not interested, feel free to click off. So for Dark October, I am absolutely going to do Dark October reads because I think it's the perfect opportunity to indulge in some spooky books, right? So I have chosen 4 books. I don't know that I'm going to read 4 books in October, but I've chosen 4 to read. And so the books that I have chosen, let me move Sarah so nothing happens to her. So the first thing I decided, and I decided this months ago, is I really want to reread The Historian. This is one of my favorite books ever. I've talked about this book before, and I have been wanting to reread it. I think I read it originally in 2016, and I have been wanting to reread it for the past year or so. So Dark October Reads seems like the perfect opportunity to pick this up and reread it. So this is going to be my main focus. The other thing I want to read is, this has been staring at me on my shelf forever, Practical Magic. And yes, I have no explanation for why I have a paperback book with the movie cover on it. It is a sacrilege in every sense of the word, but it's a good movie. So, but I have never read this book. And so I thought, this being one of my favorite movies, it's about time that I read the book. It's not huge. I've actually had this so long that the pages are discolored. So I think that it's only 300 pages. I think that this will be a good read for October as well. So I'm looking forward to reading this finally as well. And then I have 2 other books that are on my radar to read. So one of them I am looking at that I really want to read is Mexican Gothic. I've heard such good things about this book, and I'm really excited to read it. So this is high on my list of reads, and I think it'll be perfect for Dark October. And then the other book that I have on my list, I'm going to pause and I will circle back to the 4th book that I have chosen, because I'm going to talk about what I've been reading, because it'll make more sense this way. So what I have been reading is my friend Annette from Annette's Acre suggested heavily that I read the Black Jewels series. It's one of her favorite series. She loves it, and she's like, you need to read these books. So the last time I talked to you, I was in the midst of reading the first book, which is Daughter of the Blood, and I apologize, but reflections. So Daughter of the Blood, Anne Bishop, this is the first book in the series, and it was fantastic. I found out sort of after the fact that Sarah J. Maas was apparently heavily influenced by this series when she wrote A Court of Thorns and Roses, that series, which of course is one of my absolute favorites. So reading this, I can see that influence, where, some of those things came from, which is interesting. So I finished the first book, loved it, highly recommend it. I then read the second book, Heir to the Shadows, which was also very good. And then the third book in the trilogy, which is Queen of the Darkness. all of these were so good. I got more and more invested in them as they went on. Now, I have to say that when I finished the third book, because it is technically a trilogy, when I finished the third book, I was like, that's it? Like, I was expecting it just sort of ends. So, of course, I'm texting Annette and I'm like, what the hell? Why did you get me into this? There are more books. And so I was like, you know, what do I do now? Do I read the fourth book? What needs to happen here? And so what she suggested, so book 4 is kind of a prequel, same universe. One of the main characters does make an appearance in that book, but she was like, I would recommend that you move on to book 5, which is Dreams Made Flesh. And so Dreams Made Flesh is actually 4 short stories. And one of them gives you some more insight and some more story around one of the characters that's in the, actually all of them do, give you more, you know, kind of background history on the characters. But the 4th story in it is basically picks up from where the end of Queen of the Darkness leaves off. And so it was nice to kind of pick up from that point and, you know, read sort of the next piece of the story. And at the end of that story, at the end of this book, I felt like I had the ending I was looking for. So I felt sort of, you know, we've sort of resolved, right? Because at the end of Queen of the Darkness, I was like, hang on. And it wasn't that it was a cliffhanger. It was just sort of like, I needed more. So, you know, after I finished reading Dreams Made Flesh, I texted Annette and I was like, this is the ending I was looking for. So, thank you. So, I read those 4. Highly recommend them. If you like fantasy, you know, they are well worth a read. And I think that if you like the Court of Thorns and Roses series, I think you will like these too. So definitely well worth a read. I was able to check out all of them from my library, so they should be readily available. So then after I finished that, I was like, okay, now what? And a group that I am in has a book club, and they just sort of finished, I kind of came in at the tail end, they just finished reading a book called Jane Unlimited by Kristen Cashore. Cashore. I've never heard of this book before. I've never heard of this author before. But I was like, you know, I'll give it a go. Why not? And so I knew nothing about this book going into it. Nothing at all. And I'm a little less than halfway through it, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's well written, and it's very intriguing, and I'm curious to see what happens next. So I will tell you more about it after I finish reading it, but so far I'm really enjoying it. So if you have read this book, I'd really be interested to hear your thoughts on it. And if you have not read this book, based on what I read so far, I would highly recommend it because it's really good. So I'm hoping to finish that up this week. And so the the fourth book that I want to read for Dark October Reads, which is a new thing that I just came up with last time we talked, is the fifth book in the Black Jewel series called Tangled Webs. And so Annette suggested that we read this in October. She is in the midst of rereading the books, and so she was going to hold off on reading this until October so we could read it together. So that is on my list as well. So Practical Magic, The Historian, Mexican Gothic, and Tangled Webs. And I think those will be an excellent selection for Dark October. And I think what I'm going to do is when I finish with Jane Unlimited, I'm probably just going to pick up one of those books and just go right into it, even if it's not October. I'm thinking I don't know which one I want to pick up first. Who knows? So anyway, so that's what I'm reading. I'm really enjoying what I'm reading. I'm really enjoying my time reading. And it has been really kind of a huge blessing. So, yeah. Okay, I think that that's all that I have for today. When I finish recording, I'm always like, why did I put this off so long? I don't know. You know, it's just one of those things. So anyway, looking forward to Dark October stitching, looking forward to Dark October reading, and hopefully I will be able to finish Sarah and figure out all my issues with her. You know, I don't know why I'm having so many problems right at the end. Probably because I'm trying to finish. So, yep. Anyway, I will try to be back before October so that I can talk about my plans for Dark October, hopefully my finish, and we'll go from there. So thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I always appreciate your comments and your likes and your subscribes and all of that. And it's always fun to, you know, hear from somebody that watches my videos and enjoys them and gets something out of them. That's really my intention. So thank you so much for those that share that with me. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to dark, spooky fall days and spooky books and stitching on those dark Gothic pieces that I love so much. So enjoy, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your September, and I will talk to you hopefully before the end of the month. So thanks, guys. Bye.